Welcome to Lessons for Life, Monday night. We're going live at 10 p.m. If you want to get involved, click the link in the description. Welcome to Lessons for Life, Monday night, reacting to the news that Viktor Orban has emerged as the victor in the Hungarian election. Let's just have a little listen to what happened.
Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban declared victory in Sunday's parliamentary election, where his ruling Fidesz party was on track for its fourth successive landslide since the nationalist leader came to power in 2010. Voters endorsed his vision of a conservative, illiberal state and shrugged off concerns over Budapest's close ties with Moscow. Russia's invasion of Ukraine had appeared to upend Orban's campaign in recent weeks, forcing him into awkward maneuvering to explain decades-old business relations with Russia. But he mounted a successful campaign to persuade voters that the six-party opposition alliance of Peter Marchese, promising to mend ties with the European Union, could drag the country into war. Marchese admitted defeat later on Sunday. Orban's comfortable victory could embolden the 58-year-old, who critics say has sought to cement one-party rule by overhauling the Constitution, taking control of a majority of media outlets, and staffing key government posts with loyalists. Still, he wins favor with many older, poorer voters who espouse his traditional Christian values. Orban has also emerged as a vocal supporter of anti-immigration policies and is an opponent of tough energy sanctions against Russia.
So Viktor Orban is being criticized for being a little bit too friendly towards Russia, even though he did toe the line with some of the sanctions. One of Europe's longest-serving leaders, Orban, has emerged as a vocal supporter of anti-immigration policies and an opponent of tough energy sanctions against Moscow. So he hasn't followed the rest of them in completely turning his back on Russia. The EU is united against Russia with one notable exception. So Hungary is a member of the EU, is a member of NATO, I believe, but they don't toe the line enough. Let's see what Owen thinks of that and see if he likes the music in the background. We've got musical accompaniment tonight. Don't worry about that. Owen, are you there?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Welcome, mate. We're having a little rehearsal of our own here. I know you're on a break from rehearsals, but we're a musical family. Were you aware that there'd been a general election or a presidential election in Hungary?
No, it's the first time hearing of it now, actually. So
Well,
I missed kind of what you were saying. If you could.
We like to break all the latest news stories on here. Viktor Orban is what you might call a populist, and on the right, anti-immigration laws. It's funny, some of the countries that are closer to the refugee crisis have tougher rules than the rich northern European countries like Sweden that want to say, refugees welcome. They're not actually on the front line, so to speak. So he's a Hungary first, sort of, I guess maybe a Donald Trump style character, if we were to sum him up.
In maybe the more true sense, other than the media propaganda sense. Whereas they want to say that the guy in France who's running is a Trumpish figure, I think he's a real fascist.
Interesting.
I can't remember his name. If you can, do you know?
So there's a phrase. Yeah, is that someone looking to oust Macron?
Yeah.
Wow. So there's a French election coming up as well, and Zelensky has come out and pointed the finger at Viktor Orban as an enemy, and likewise Orban has done the same thing, because Orban has stayed, even though they did sanction Russia on some level, because he hasn't gone all the way and remained in lockstep with the rest of the European Union, Freudian slip there. He's being seen as some kind of enemy.
Yeah, no, indeed.
This is Zelensky has attacked Orban for taking a softer line with Moscow than other EU leaders, while Hungary, a member of both EU and NATO, has condemned Russia's invasion and backed EU sanctions on Moscow. It has opposed a ban on Russian energy imports and declined to bilaterally provide Kyiv with weapons. So it's like, you've supported us, but not enough. It's almost like remembering back to Viktor Yanukovych before the revolution in Ukraine. He was sort of on the fence, friendly with Russia and friendly with the EU. And because he wasn't friendly enough towards the EU, some might say, that's why they had a revolution, a coup, and he was ousted. But of course, there have been democratic elections in Ukraine since then, and this man came out on top.
I think we have to remember about puppets, especially when we speak about Trump and his kind of 4 years in the White House. Was he a puppet as well?
He sold himself on the fact that he wasn't. A puppet for whom? Don't name family names. Are we saying the deep state?
I would say in some ways, no, not.
Owen, are you still there? I've lost audio from Owen. Look at that. You couldn't make it up.
Deep state, because he was a puppet.
Sorry, Owen, you're cutting in and out. It might be because I've got an airplane going over. No problem. I think Owen's got bad signal. Well, let's have a look at the opposition then. Opposition leader Peter Marchese addresses supporters during an election night rally in Budapest. So they do have opposition then. It's not a complete dictatorship, even though they mentioned that he was possibly heading towards one-party rule. They do have elections in Hungary. Got another video clip coming up, but I want to ask Owen, talking of puppets, is this man a puppet? Is this man controlled? The world's richest man. Elon Musk becomes Twitter's biggest shareholder after taking a 9.2% stake. How influential can you become if you are a part owner of Twitter? That's got to be the most authoritative or respected online sharing platform, hasn't it? Social media. I think things that trend on Twitter are taken seriously. If you read something on Facebook, it's kind of it's taken with a pinch of salt. And with Facebook, because of the algorithm, you end up sort of in an echo chamber sharing things that you agree with other people that share the same views. But if you share something on Twitter, it is there for the world to see it. And if you can have some kind of an influence over what does or doesn't get shared on Twitter, you've got to be right up there with the most influential people in the world. And what does money bring you other than influence? And what is worth more than money is being influential. But some people, some of the Trump type mentality, Trump supporters, people that believed that Trump was going to drain the swamp and do away with all of that. They say, no, this guy, Elon Musk, he's on our side. He's one of the good guys. He's not controlled. He's outside the box. Peter Bills is saying Twitter is the most reputable of sources of information. I guess it is, isn't it? When it comes to being cross-examined. But how much censorship is there on Twitter? Does Twitter give you little pointers to say this is Russian state-controlled media? This is biased in the way that other platforms do. I know that even DuckDuckGo recently have caved in and are no longer completely impartial. So where do we turn to if we don't want biased information? And is the best thing to do to just take it from both sources, watch the BBC and then watch RT and know that the truth might be somewhere down the middle? What do you think, Owen? Is this a good guy on the screen or a bad guy or just a rich guy?
Well, we have to remember who his family is. He's not a self-made rich guy. As much as they try and sell him that.
He's a South African, right? Diamond geezer.
Yeah, exactly. He's had like one of the best educations in the world, and let's say maybe was born for this role in the
wow. Born to be king. I'd love to. I haven't looked that deep into his like origins. He's from would he be a Boer, like Dutch, South African family?
I can't remember off the top of my head, but
Musk. It's not a surname that I've heard before, other than him. Elon. Yeah. It almost sounds a bit like Bab Elon, which is of course
getting married
the door to the god.
A singer, right, from the UK, I believe.
Is that right?
I think
I don't read OK Magazine. Who's he getting married to?
I think his girlfriend is an artist called Grimes, who is very much a occult artist or uses magic in a lot of her music.
Really? Does she pose with one hand over her eye and all that?
She, in fact, used to wear a mask back in 2016 and 2017. And then suddenly everyone started
wear a mask, like a medical one, like we've all been wearing?
Yeah. She's been wearing it for the past 5-6 years.
She must have had some insider knowledge. Or is just, I don't know, paranoid about catching something. All right. Well, let's have a look at another geezer who is meant to be rebelling against something. I've got a little video clip for you here. This, I think, happened at one of the London airports earlier today.
To live in England because I can't open a bank account. I can't rent a house. Yeah. So I've been separated from my kids for quite a while. I haven't been really been able to live a proper family life. People come to the house, so it's half term. So I get my week's holiday with my children. I've been so excited about it. I've landed at Cancun airport with my 3 children. I've been arrested. I've been separated from my kids. And now I'm being deported as a matter of national security. You speak about Islam. That's all I've fucking done. Ask yourself what I've done. What are my convictions? What I've actually fucking done. What have I done? Spoke about Islam. Criticised Islam. been separated from my 3 fucking kids. My mates here, I travelled with my friend and his children, so he's got my children. I've been put up, now I'm being deported from Mexico. Like, what the fuck is going on? I'm a journalist who reports on serious issues in the UK. I can't rent a house, I can't open a bank account. I can't travel from Mexico. Mexico? I think you got a fucking cheeky now. The fucking American border. But yeah, I'm banned from Mexico. I'm not committed a crime here. Been here 3 times. Never caused a problem. Landed with my children for what was clearly a family holiday. Been arrested, detained, separated from my kids. And now they're letting me use the phone. I'm allowed my phone call, yeah? And they're going to take the phone again. Right, bro? Only call. Okay.
That was Tommy Helmoy Racist Robinson being deported from Mexico and wound back up at the airport in London. Controlled opposition? Is he just a football thug? What's the deal with
I know how
Stephen
welcome he is
Yaxley Lennon
in my area. When the last time he came to Haringey, I believe he got milkshaked. So while I know that is most people's impression of him, his choice of words will piss people off. Again, as he keeps mentioning Islam. I think maybe if he chose the word Salafi or Wahhabi,
that's very interesting.
We might be saying a different story. But yeah.
That's very interesting, Owen. Do you think that most of the Muslims that he has a problem with are at that end of the spectrum? You've mentioned Salafi or so-called Wahhabi, the kind of extremists that made their way to Syria. Do you think that's who he really has a problem with and he doesn't know how to articulate it?
Yes, and if anything, it's un-Islamic, let's say. So his problem isn't with Islam. It's what he perceives Islam to be.
And I don't wish to tarnish all Salafis with the same brush. There are Muslims and there are Muslims, there are Salafis, but I think the kind of people that the thing is though, he grew up in a community where, for example, the grooming gangs probably were not any particular type of Islamic sect, but the fact that they all happened to be Muslim put it in his mind that this is a Muslim problem. And certainly in Luton there is a problem of grooming that has a prevalence in the Pakistani Muslim community in Luton. If we had Omar X on here, he might be able to come back at me on that one. But sure, I'm sure that must have clouded his views. But then he got into the Brexit campaign and other sort of what is perceived as anti-immigrant kind of politics. What is he? Is he anti-Islam, or as he says, I have a go at Islam? But it's slightly more than that, it would seem.
I would say he definitely has a interest in protecting. I don't know whether it's perceived as whiteness or not, but Britishness.
Well, he calls it the English Defence League, even though he's of an Irish background. He's as English as Sadiq Khan.
Yeah.
In the sense that he was born in England, but his family come from somewhere else.
Well, here's the thing. I think religion will always be used by humans in the wrong way, and we've got to make that separation. Or from individual human beings, as opposed to faith, and then faith as opposed to religion or dogma or doctrine.
Yeah.
So from kind of his point of view, while I do sympathize with him, he is unashamed about the way he does it, and good for him in that way, but don't expect not to get milkshakes.
I see. Yeah. And I wonder where a lot of his money's coming from.
Yeah, it's a good point. Is it just more sowing division and part of the divide and rule game?
Yes, could be. It could be. I mean, for him to rock up in an IDF outfit and claim to support that country where immigrants took over and turfed a lot of people out of their land, yet he himself is the son of immigrants and is worried about immigrants taking over the country that his parents immigrated to. It's all a little bit
maybe that
too
goes to
hypocritical.
The what was it? The British Israelism theory that a
Uh-huh.
lot of people suppose it. You know, that's
Yes.
something that just rung a bell in my head.
Yeah, at that end of the spectrum of politics, there are people that believe that the native inhabitants of the British Isles are the lost tribe.
But via island, is that right? I believe one of the princesses of the Israelites went and married into the Irish royal family, then the Scottish royal family, then the English royal family.
Yes, and look, I've said it
how the
before
theory
on
goes.
this channel that the Tudor family, Henry Tudor, was in fact Henry Judah, and that, you know, if you've read the Da Vinci Code, there's all kind of arguments for the British royal family being descended from Jesus. But I'd be surprised if Tommy Robinson has read that many books. I'm not sure.
I would say there is an intersection that now is quite surprising to me, that between a lot of people on the left and what is perceived as the right of Tommy Robinson and such, actually, I think they will both agree to change the national anthem from "God Save the Queen" to "Jerusalem."
Do you think so? Do you think that's what we're heading for? Is that to be an English anthem rather than a British anthem? Why would we want to change the anthem?
Since Wales has their own, Ireland has their own, and Scotland has their own, I think a lot of left-wing English people, not nationalist English, I guess they want to be part of the EU, but they still would rather England has the anthem as Jerusalem,
as an anthem.
Which I would say that those on the right want as well.
It's always a debate when Northern Ireland play, because in football they don't have a national anthem. They play "God Save the Queen," just like England. Scotland have "Flower of Scotland." Wales have "Land of My Fathers," which is sung in Welsh, and Northern Ireland don't have one. And there's a need for that. There's a gap. What do you think should be the English? I don't think I've asked you your ethnic background. You must or not on here anyway. Do you have? So you have some Irish heritage, right?
I do on my dad's side, yeah.
Yeah. How do you feel in terms of patriotism? You're English as well. Do you feel British? Do you feel English? How do you describe yourself?
Well, the whole kind of idea of empire in the British Empire, being in the counter culture or whatever, let's say, I don't see that in a sympathetic light like a lot of people. You know, like I guess they think about the British Empire in a good way. I don't feel that way. In fact, whenever I go anywhere else out of the country, I always say I'm Irish, not English, because of that. And even growing up, I didn't realize that. I didn't even know I was Irish until I was about 13, 14. And then my dad told me that his family's from Ireland, you know.
Oh, wow. So you had a revelation.
I in fact remember being 12, 13 years old, calling someone a Jippo and something like that, and then realizing 2 weeks later that I was Irish.
Wow, amazing. People discover all kinds of things about themselves. Many anti-Semites have found out that they are original Hebrews. House of Comments is saying Jerusalem. Yeah, there is a great sort of longing for Britain to be part of the Holy Land, and the Crusades obviously were about reconquering it for Christians. But that was a long time ago. That was even it would have been the Catholic Church at that point.
Already
But,
after the 10:55 and the schism.
That's right. That's right. People are saying, is there anything wrong with attempting to retain culture? Immigration should be limited, merit-based, sponsored, and within the rule of law. Unreasonable? I suppose so. I mean, seeking refuge is within the law. Being a refugee is not illegal. But I wonder how Peter Bills feels like that. I'm not sure which country you're in, Peter. I'm guessing you might be in England. Peter, I wonder, could I ask you, do you feel more comfortable with blonde, blue-eyed Ukrainian refugees arriving and assimilating in England compared to people from further afield? Or do black people from the Caribbean that speak English fit in quicker than Eastern Europeans that might look like the Anglo-Saxon race but don't speak the same language? Are you in the US, Peter? Oh, immigration in the US. Which tribe are you? I wonder. Might
From
you
my
be?
experience of growing up in this country and going to school in this generation, I nowadays I'm trying to understand what it is to be white in the way that those use the word, let's say, and again there are many different opinions on this. Going back to Irishness, the Irish weren't white until the 30s.
That's right.
So I went to school where every single person in my class, their second language was English. I was the only person whose first language was English. There was me and two other English girls, let's say. And there were three of us, and every single other person was an immigrant.
English/Irish, if only they knew it. Yeah.
So
I get you. White British.
For me, it's actually been a blessing, I understand loads of different cultures, and it's what I've been raised in. But I do, again, see the apprehensiveness to losing your own culture.
So what stopped you from becoming a Tommy Robinson? If you've grown up in a ethnically diverse environment and part of a minority in the sense that you're one of a couple of white people in the classroom, what stopped you becoming a Tommy Robinson, saying, oh, they're coming over here, look at them, they're outnumbering English people, even though you didn't realize at the time you weren't fully English yourself? What stopped you going down that road?
Well, it's mainly about my best friend. My best friend as a child was from Bangladesh. And yeah, I guess that's it really. And also to do with family. Often people say, you don't choose your family, but I think you do. And those are what we should call our friends, who are more than friends, let's say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't get me wrong, I know black people, let's say, or a whole bunch of different looking type of people that would agree with what Tommy Robinson is saying, but not in the way he is saying it. So I think there is a fine line to all of these things, and there's so much nuance that we have to discuss the nuance. It can't just be black and white.
Yeah. And do you think that's different in a country like Hungary that is still probably a monolith, that hasn't become, what's the word, diverse yet? I sound like that woman that they drag out now and then. Europe is not going to be the same as it was. Europe is going through a change, and it has to happen.
I think we've got to be scared about walking on eggshells, let's say, and just say what you think. If you make a mistake, you make a mistake, and someone will call you out for it. But even in that, one person's opinion of it as a mistake might not even be correct. It's just we have to come at it from a point of view as just being brothers in humanity, let's say, or not any tribe or
tribe. Oh, look, House of Comments is showing his cards. He knows the lady in question. Yeah, I must have done a very good impression if he's pulled the name out. Yeah, that's right. Europe isn't going to be monocultural anymore, and we are going to play a huge part in that. And it has to happen. Some people love to play that clip out of context. Peter Bills in the States. I'm going to try and do the accent.
You don't know where in the States.
Oh no, I don't know when. I'll do a generic American accent. In the States, we're told immigrants are fleeing gang violence and drug cartels. My strong perception in refugees seeking asylum in the EU nation is driven by war. Sorry, that's probably an appalling
I'd agree
attempt.
with that statement, especially in the EU about war and who's to blame for that war. You know?
Yes. So
not anybody that we voted for, even if we voted.
So, House of Comments, is it an open panel? Here is an open panel. If you want to jump on House of Comments, you're welcome, and you don't have to show your face. If you would like to, well, you can turn your camera off. Click the link in the description. Yeah. So, is Peter Bill suggesting that the refugees seeking asylum in the EU are more worthy than people in the States fleeing gang violence and drug cartels? Are some refugees more entitled than others? I thought the US said, "Bring me your masses, your teeming masses." What's that phrase? Oh, look, we might have House of Comments jumping on. Welcome, House of Comments.
Hello. What's up? It's Ralph.
Hello, Ralph. Fantastic. Great to hear your voice. What do you make of all this?
I only saw the last 10 minutes, man. So just listening into the lot of this
no problem.
I think it raises lots of questions about migration.
Lovely.
Culture.
Yeah. Who is English and who isn't? I mean, you're every white man's favorite brown man, aren't you?
I don't know what every white man's favorite brown man, but maybe a few of them, right?
Well, some of them.
Yeah.
But of course, I mean, you're an interesting one. If you don't, I mean, I hope you don't mind me sharing your personal, what's the word, identity. But people that recognize your voice will probably have seen your face in Speaker's Corner, and you're of a mixed background, but you've somehow been embraced by the white identitarians as one of us, one of them, not us, them.
Well, I wouldn't be one of them, but yeah, definitely as most of my audience is pretty far right. So that's what the society would see as far right and identitarian. But I guess the heart of it is like, I guess most English people are upset that anyone can be called English, or English identity is diluted, or people ask questions, what does it mean to be English? But no one asks questions for other identities, right? It's just for English people and white people. No one says, hey, what does it mean to be Bangladeshi? Or what does it mean to be Nigerian? Anyway, but anyone can be English, right?
Yeah, well, anyone can be a woman as well. I mean, I'm not a biologist. And I was thinking about this the other day when someone yet again refused to confirm whether a woman could have a penis. And I thought, well, you could be vague when it comes to saying who is a black person, couldn't you? It's sort of easy, what's the word? Difficult to define, but easy to recognize. If I said, okay, he's black, he's not. But what is the definition of a black person? It's vague. Are Sudanese people black? Are Somalians black? Are people from the south of Egypt black and the north maybe not? It is difficult to define.
Somalians, Ethiopians, are they black? Because I know that they
there you go.
To go by that moniker.
I think race is really tricky because, I mean, like I say, I've got I spent about 2 years through the global far right, if you like, and I think white is a very low bonding concept compared to ethnicity. So I mean, I'm in Germany right now. Germans see themselves as Germans before white. English people see themselves as English before white. It's only when you produce a non-white person does white kick in.
Very true. Yeah. No, white people didn't know they were white until they saw someone else.
So does whiteness even exist?
I think it's a social construct. White is a real race, right? Because I can take a white person. Look at it this way, but I mean, I've traveled to maybe 100 countries in my life. No, it's only in Western Europe that have this problem. You go to India, China, If you go to Angola, everyone says, hey, that guy's white. If you go to the West, liberal social constructs, they're going to say, hey, it's a social construct. It doesn't really exist. And you're like, you travel around the world, you take a white guy, a black guy, and a brown guy, the rest of the world have no problem. Right? It's only white people are told you can't be white, or white's a social construct. Anyone can be white. It's just made up. You go around to Pakistan, you go to Bangladesh, you go to Thailand, you go to Africa. And if three of us travel, they'll be like, hey, there's a white guy, there's a black guy, there's a brown guy. So the question really to ask is, why is it white people who are being beaten up about this and no one else, right? That's the real question. If you ask that question, then you'll be called a far right, a Nazi, a racist.
Wow, we better not ask it then, Ralph. Without asking it too loudly, do you have an answer to that question?
I think the problem has been that liberalism, fundamentally liberalism, actually it's deeper than that. I think it's the loss of God and the Enlightenment that caused Europeans to lose God. Once they lose God, they looked for an identity that was material. Once you had a material identity, it let all sorts of lies start sliding in, because after all, the devil is the father of all lies. So once that comes in, lies became lies. Now, a man can't be a woman. There's no such thing as white. White's a social construct. All of these things we know are lies. And why are they lies? Because you don't hold on to. Muslims would say the haq.
Yes, the truth.
Christians, we know this is the logos, the truth. And, once you take the truth off the table and you want to offend someone, don't want to offend someone, you're in all sorts of, you're already in deep, dark, dirty waters. You can't, I've got no problem with Priti Patel, which is not English. I've no problem with David Lammy. He's not English. One's an African man, one's an Indian woman.
Nor is Boris Johnson. Boris Johnson's
not English.
No.
He's totally not English. But there are English people who are English. And the crime is when you tell them that their identity is being diluted and the rest of the world will not agree. And then you ask, well, who's the people doing this? The people who want the English to be weak. And then calling someone not white when they're not white is not racism. It's not offensive. I'm a Christian. I'm not allowed to hate anyone. I have no hate in my heart for saying David Lammy is not English or white. I don't hate him. I feel no negative sentiment, but I think it's a lie and a deeper sin to say Priti Patel is English, because she's clearly not. If you take her to India, no one in India would think she's English. They would think you've been crazy. You take David Lammy to...
I don't know. I think there is that level to it, right? There's also, I know, like black English people, let's say, even if they're not English, if they're raised here, when they go back home to Africa, their family say, "Oh, you're English. You're not."
Well, they might behave that way in terms of their mannerisms because they've been detached from their original culture, but that culture is not the same as ethnicity, is it? So you could have someone, my school, I went to a bit of a posher school, and we had a guy who was the ambassador from the Caribbean, white guy with blonde hair with like a completely Jamaican accent or a Western accent. Blonde hair, blue eyes, super, because he grew up his first 15 years, 12 years of his life was in the Caribbean. And you look at me and go, okay, but so you might sound...
he's a Jamaican. He's not Caribbean.
He isn't, though, is he? But he really isn't, because you can't really be a Jamaican.
Who are the real Jamaicans? Everyone in Jamaica came there from somewhere. The original native inhabitants have been exterminated, haven't they?
Well, there's another saying that maybe this will help, and this is the deeper universalist principle. If everyone in the world is my brother, then the word brother doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, that's a good way.
If everyone is my brother, then there's something special and precious about brother. So the question then becomes, the more you have, and what's the tightest version of brother? It's your actual own blood, your own people, your own family first, right? So then you say, okay, so the tightest level, there's something called my family, my mother, my father, my sister, my closest. And then the idea of universality, we're all brothers and sisters under God. Absolutely, but that's not the same, right? So the question is, which is it? Because they're at odds with each other, isn't it? One is a universalist principle and it dilutes something. And one is the most precious thing, right? I'm not going to think of my children as equal to any other child. They're my child first, right? Or my father first, my mother first. If everyone is my father, then what does father mean, right? It doesn't mean anything, right?
Have you heard of this common ancestor thing about how if it's everyone has 2 grandparents, 4 great-grandparents, 8, 16, 32, and it keeps increasing in that fashion, that there was a point in time where the population was less than the amount in the family tree. Therefore,
yeah, that doesn't take into account.
Therefore, everyone's related.
That doesn't take into account interbreeding. Some people's grandparents is the same grandparents as their wife.
Well, it's saying mathematically it has to be so, because
Yeah. Okay.
the population
Okay.
being more than the amount in the family tree. If you take
Even
that
someone in your comments says we're all cousins. Yeah, but everyone is my cousin, and the word cousin doesn't mean much because my cousins are my cousins. And I mean, I might love some other guy, my best friend, but he's not my cousin. So the question is, as soon as I give everyone this universal label, the label is so diluted to really be almost a platitude, right? Hey, brother. Hey, bro. Yeah, but you're not my brother. Yeah, what's up, bro? Bro becomes like just almost like,
by sub, yeah. But then again, what about you? You can't choose your family, but you choose your friends. Sometimes is the friend not even that more special because they're loyal to you, not because of some accident of birth, but because they chose you as a friend?
I think it depends what your moral position is, right? I mean, in our case, it's easy for me. I'm a Christian. Like I say, I spend a lot of time. My phone book is full of like white supremacists. Some of them can't stand the sight of me. Others are good friends of mine. And they're literally like, let's say, white supremacists or something. The question becomes to them is, well, what's your identity based on? What is your moral compass? If you believe in God, it's easy. Your moral compass is given by the nature of your faith. If you don't believe in God, mainly the West, then you've got to make up an identity. So you're not going to, the cat's out of the bag because the left wanted progressive woke identity. And white guys have said, all right, let's play. Now you can't put that genie back in the bottle. Shouldn't have opened it up in the first place. It's never going back in until it's resolved. And that resolution, you mentioned Orban, is just increasingly going one way. The world is splitting into two polarized camps, those who accept identity and those who won't. And now suddenly the progressive say everyone's allowed identity except white people. And you're like, how moral is that, right? Sounds like
So just to bring it back to Orban, then Ralph, are you sympathetic towards him as a Hungarian for the Hungarians?
As a Christian first.
Oh, and is he Christian?
He's a very strong Christian.
Very strong Christian.
Yeah, when you look at all his identity speeches, he always says Hungarian is Christian before he says Hungarian.
Wow. But he's not Orthodox then, or is he?
Is he Catholic?
Well, yeah, but there's a kind of strange divisions because I've worked in Hungary and stuff for a while. There's a division between the ones who are Catholic and Orthodox. But the point is, his identity is first and foremost Christian. So for me, Christians I have black brothers of mine who are my Christian brothers.
You're Christian brother.
Correct.
And you see Christianity as that. You don't see the
God is bigger than race. Yeah. God, we're all God's creatures. So under Christianity, under Islam, those two Abrahamic faiths, race is second to God, right? But if you're not a Christian, not a Muslim, then you've got a problem. Then you've only got identity that's based on race and ethnicity, right?
So who's to say that within certain bits of whether you want to use polytheism or paganism, there was still the underlying fact that there was a creator. So even though that they might have worship, let's say, things other than the creator, they still had that essence. So who's to say that it's, like, I agree with you that it's the death of God, but which God?
But there's only one God.
Yeah. I agree, yeah.
I want to raise
that's what I'm talking about.
There's
one. Just say la la la.
There's only one God.
There's only one God, man.
I mean,
if you look at how pagans and how Christians look at pagans, other religions, I have the same principle from the Jewish faith, maybe. That's those who are closer to God are closer to me, even if their version of God is not the way I see God. They're still closer to me because they're closer to God than an atheist. An atheist is the furthest of the lost lambs, as we would say in our faith. The ones.
Wow.
I agree with that. Yeah. And even in doing the atheism, let's say, making that choice in itself is putting a false God there.
Atheism is moral syphilis. Yeah.
Super. On that bombshell, I think we're going to wrap it up. Ralph, so glad you came on, mate. We're always great to hear from you, and I hope you're well. Hope your family are well.
Yeah, everything's good. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Peace to you, Owen. As ever, thank you very much, mate. We've done a nice little 45 minutes, and I'll catch you on Monday. We were here, or we're gone. Laters.